Dear students, welcome to the seventh lecture in the series on engineering mechanics. We have been dealing with kinetics in curvilinear motion. We have completed rectilinear kinetics in the previous lecture, and this session will be dealing with kinetics in curvilinear motion. And with this, we will be completing our discussions on module 4. The topics that we have left behind are one is impulse momentum equation and work energy equation. So these are to be dealt only at a conceptual level, and I would recommend you to do self-study related to that. Similarly, moment of momentum and work energy equation. This topic is also to be dealt only at a conceptual level, and you can learn it on your own, and you are free to ask your doubts regarding those topics. So in this lecture we will be concentrating on kinetics in curvilinear motion. So once again thanks to Ridin and Sabir in helping me put this lecture together. So let us begin with a review of curvilinear kinematics. So let us consider a particle which is traversing a curved path. So S is the distance along the curve, theta is the angular displacement or angular rotation, r is the radius of the curve. So at any point the velocity of the particle will be tangential to the curved path. So the distance along the curve S can be written as S is equal to r into theta, where r is the radius of the curve and theta is the angular displacement. The tangential velocity Vt can be written as ds by dt, that is equal to, if you substitute S equal to r theta, you will get it as r d theta by dt, and you know that d theta by dt, which is the rate of change of angular displacement, is the angular velocity. Angular velocity is represented by omega. Therefore tangential velocity becomes r omega. Vt equals r omega, where r omega is the angular velocity. Now if it is uniform circular motion, then the radius of the circular path will be a constant, and similarly if it is a uniform motion, then angular velocity will be a constant. If radius and angular velocity both are constant, then your tangential velocity will also be a constant. Therefore for uniform circular motion, your tangential velocity, angular velocity and radius of the path are constants. Now these are your equations of kinematics. We have seen them in the first lecture. The final angular velocity omega f is equal to initial angular velocity omega I plus alpha t. Here alpha is your angular acceleration, which is nothing but d omega by dt. So alpha equals d omega by dt. Similarly theta, that theta is equal to omega it plus half alpha t square. Also omega f square equals omega I square plus 2 alpha theta. Now these equations are nothing but they are analogous to the equations of kinematics in rectilinear motion. So if you know the equations of kinematics in rectilinear motion, then all you have to do is substitute the values, the corresponding values in curvilinear translation. So final velocity you replace by final angular velocity, initial velocity you replace by initial angular velocity, acceleration you replace by angular acceleration alpha, displacement s you replace by angular displacement or angular rotation theta. So you will get these equations. Now let us consider a particle entering a curved path at a point A with a velocity vt1. So its corresponding angular velocities will be r omega 1, and the radius of the path, let it be r1, and it leaves the path at a point B. Tangential velocity is vt2, the corresponding angular velocity is omega 2 and radius is r2. So at any point in of motion of the body, it will have two components of acceleration. One is the tangential acceleration, which is directed tangential to the curved path. Another one is the normal acceleration, and this part will be directed towards the center, and therefore we will call it as centripetal acceleration. So tangential acceleration, what the use of tangential acceleration is, tangential acceleration enables a change in the magnitude of velocity. So there is tangential velocity at any point, and this change in tangential velocity is occurring because of tangential acceleration. Therefore tangential acceleration at equals dvt by dt, that is rate of change of tangential velocity. And we know vt equals r omega. If you substitute that, you will get r into d omega by dt. You will get it as r alpha. Next is normal or centripetal acceleration. So what the role of normal or centripetal acceleration is, it enables a change in the direction of velocity. So this is enabling a change in the direction of velocity. And for example, if this particle has to continue moving along the curved path, its direction of acceleration velocity has to keep changing along the tangent. So that is because there is a centripetal acceleration, that is an acceleration towards the center. And the magnitude of centripetal acceleration is vt square by r. If you substitute vt equals r omega, you will get it as r omega square. So you have to remember this equation. The net acceleration at any point of motion is equal to square root of, or the resultant of, tangential acceleration and normal or centripetal acceleration. Again, if a body is undergoing uniform circular motion, we have learned that the magnitude of tangential velocity will be a constant. That means there is the rate of change of tangential velocity is 0. Therefore, tangential acceleration is 0 for a particle undergoing uniform circular motion. Thus, if a particle is undergoing uniform circular motion, at any point it will have its velocity will be same as the tangential velocity, and its acceleration will be same as the normal acceleration. Now let us look into curvilinear kinetics. Now for a body to undergo curvilinear motion, we have understood that for a change in the direction of the velocity, a normal acceleration is essential. And this normal acceleration is brought about by what is known as centripetal force. So the centripetal force is nothing but, centripetal force is equal to mass into centripetal acceleration, and it is this centripetal force that ensures curvilinear motion. For example, if you are having a string, a ball tied to a string, and if you if you try to rotate the string in a circular path, the ball undergoes circular motion because there is tension in the string, and this tension in the string is going to act as a centripetal force. Similarly, if you are driving a car and the car is taking a curved path. So now when the car takes a curved path, the car is able to take a curved path because there is a centripetal acceleration for the car, and this centripetal acceleration is there because there is a centripetal force, and that centripetal force is nothing but the frictional force between the wheels of the car as well as the road. So centripetal force is what enables what brings about centripetal acceleration, and it is because there is a centripetal acceleration the body is able to undergo a curvilinear motion. So the magnitude of centripetal acceleration is mass into centripetal forces, mass into centripetal acceleration, that is m into vt square by r, or mr omega square. The next force we have to understand is centrifugal force. Now this centrifugal force is not a real force. For example, when we talked about centripetal force, this force is a real force. For example, it can be the tension in the string, it can be a frictional force in case of a car. However, when it comes to centrifugal force, this is an imaginary force, and this force is assumed to act away from the objects which are undergoing curvilinear motion. For example, when you drive a car and the car is taking a curved path, you tend to move towards the outside of the curve. So there is a force that tend to act on you in the outward direction. Therefore, centrifugal force has the same magnitude as the centripetal force. and it acts in a direction away from the center of the curved path. Now let us discuss D'Alembert's principle in curvilinear motion. So in rectilinear motion we had discussed D'Alembert's principle as the body comes into a state of dynamic equilibrium when it is acted upon by an imaginary inertial force, and the magnitude of the inertial force is same as mass into net acceleration of the body. So let us consider a body which is undergoing first case is, let us consider a body which is undergoing a general curved motion. So at various instants of the curvilinear motion, it is having different velocities. At A it was vt1, at B it is vt2. At any point it will be having both tangential velocity as well as normal tangential acceleration as well as normal acceleration. For a body undergoing a general curved motion, the net acceleration will be the resultant of tangential acceleration as well as normal acceleration, and therefore the inertial force is going to be in a direction that is going to be opposite to the net acceleration. So that will be equal to mass into the net acceleration. That will be the inertial force. So under the inertial force the body is going to be in a state of equilibrium, dynamic equilibrium. So here if you see that the centripetal force is being provided by what is known as the frictional force. So this frictional force is going to provide a centripetal acceleration for the body, and opposite to that there is going to be the inertial force. Inertial force is acting in a direction that is opposite to the net acceleration of the body. So this is the equation for dynamic equilibrium, and here A will be the net acceleration, that is square root of at square plus an square. Now if we consider a body which is undergoing a circular motion, in that case there is only normal acceleration for the body, and here the inertial force will be directed opposite to the normal acceleration. So here A will be equal to the centripetal acceleration of the body. So we can say that the inertial force in a uniform circular motion is same as the centrifugal force. Inertial force in a uniform circular motion is same as the centrifugal force. Now let us consider various examples related to circular motion. So the first question we have to discuss is, a ball of mass 0.025 kilogram is connected with a 0.25 meter long inextensible string that is tied to the apex of a cone with a rough surface. At time t equal to 0, the cone is provided an angular acceleration 0.47 radian per second about the vertical axis of rotation. We have to determine at what instant the ball will lose contact with the surface. Also, we have to determine the tension in the string at that particular instant. So let us try to see what is the question asking to us. So there is a conical surface and there is a vertical axis. So from the vertical axis a string is there and a ball is tied to the string. Now a constant angular rotation is provided about the vertical axis such that the string is undergoing a circular motion. So you can see the string is undergoing a circular motion. So the radius of this circular path is given. What is the radius of the circular path? We have to find the radius of the circular path, that is unknown here. We are given the angle of the cone. So we can find the radius of the circular path as this value of the length of the string is given, which is 0.25 meter. So this angle is also known. So radius of the circular path can be found out from basic trigonometry as 0.25 sine 55 degree, that is 0.205 meter. Now to analyze the motion, we have to understand what are the different forces that are going to act on the ball. So if you look here, The ball will be acted upon by its weight, which is acting vertically downward. There is going to be a normal reaction from this conicular surface, and at the instant when the ball will lose contact with the surface, the magnitude of that reaction will be zero. In addition to that, there is going to be tension in this string. In addition to that, the ball is undergoing a circular motion. So because of circular motion, there will be a centripetal acceleration, and inertial force is going to be acting opposite to the centripetal acceleration. So it will be acting outward in the opposite direction. So let us consider the free body diagram of the ball. So if we consider the free body diagram of the ball, this is again a closer view. We have the weight acting vertically downward, tension is acting in the along the string. So if this angle is theta, we can resolve tension into its vertical and horizontal components. Then we have normal reaction. When the ball is going to lose contact, the magnitude of R will be equal to 0. Now the ball is undergoing a uniform circular motion, therefore it is having a net normal acceleration towards the center. Therefore inertial force will be acting opposite to that, Fi equals ma. Now if we consider dynamic equilibrium, let t and omega f be the time and final angular velocity at the instant the ball lose contact. So for dynamic equilibrium of the ball, if we consider sigma Fy equal to 0, t cos 55 is equal to W, which is equal to mg. Similarly, t sin 55 degree is equal to mr omega square. So here we will take it as omega f, that is the final angular velocity at the instant the ball loses contact. Again, from the free body diagram, we have neglected the normal reaction because at the instant when it loses contact, the normal reaction will be 0. Now if we divide equation 1 by equation 2, we will get tan 55 degree equals r omega f square by g. If we substitute the values, we can get the value of omega f as 8.27 radian per second. So the question before us is we need to find the time as well as the angular velocity. So angular velocity we have found out. Now we need to find out the time at which it is going to. So what the question is, it has started from rest with a uniform angular acceleration and it has reached a final angular velocity. We need to find the time taken for this. So what we will do is uh, we will apply the equations of kinematics, that is omega f is equal to omega I plus alpha t. Omega I is equal to 0 because it started from rest. So if we apply this equation, we will get t is equal to 17.59 seconds. So that is the time at which the ball loses contact. Now to find the tension in the string at which the ball loses contact, so from equation 1, t is equal to mg by cos 55 degree. So if we substitute this equation, we will get tension as 0.427 Newton. You can check this value of tension by finding the tension from the second equation also. So these are our answers. At 17.59 seconds, the ball is going to lose contact with the surface and the tension in the string is 0.427 Newton. Now let us consider the second example. A ball weighing 100 gram is suspended from the ceiling of a truck. The suspended string was found to make an angle 7 degree with the vertical during negotiating a horizontal curve of 112 meter. We have to determine the velocity of the carriage, that is its tangential velocity, and the tension in the string. So let us try to see what the question is all about. So the truck is undergoing is taking a curved path. So initially, when the truck is passing along a straight curve, the ball will be in the vertical direction. Now as it takes the curve, the ball tends to deflect outward. So you can see that the ball is deflecting more and more. So this is the question before us. So at the instant when the ball has deflected 7 degree, we have to find out the various values. So what we will do is at the instant, so let us consider the free body diagram of the ball. Again, the force is acting on it are the weight is acting vertically downward, tension is acting along the string. So we can resolve the tension into its normal and vertical and horizontal components. It is undergoing a uniform circular motion, and therefore the acceleration on the ball will be the normal or centripetal acceleration. Therefore, inertial force will be acting in the outward direction, that is in the uh, direction away from the center. So for this case, if we try to write the equations of equilibrium, considering dynamic equilibrium of the ball, if we write sigma Fy equal to 0, we will get T cos 7 degree equal to mg. Similarly, T sin 7 degree equals mvt square by r, that is the equation of equilibrium in the x direction. So dividing equation 2 by equation 1, we will get tan 7 degree equals vt square by rg. So Vt equal to square root of Rg tan 7 degree. Vt is equal to square root of 112 into 9.81 into tan 7 degree, that is 11.61 meter per second. So this is the tangential velocity of the truck. The ball is inside the truck, therefore the truck as well as the ball will have the same tangential velocity. So that is 11.61 meter per second. Next is we need to find the tension in the string. Now from equation 1 we can directly find the tension in the string as T equals mg by cos 7 degree. So it is coming as 0.9988 Newton. So you can verify this value by substituting it in the second equation. Therefore the velocity of the truck is 11.61 meter per second and the tension in the string is 0.988 Newton. Now let us see the next question. A rod AC is rotating at 20 rpm about a vertical axis through A and support a ball of weight 981 Newton at its lower end. It is kept in position by a rod BD. So neglecting the weight of the rod AC and BD, we have to calculate the force F in the rod BD. Also at what speed this this force will be 0. So this is the question. We are having a vertical rod about which this particular ball is rotating, and as it rotates it is going to develop centrifugal force. That means there is going to be outward pull. As the outward pull increases, the for example, imagine a case wherein this particular rod was not there. If this rod was not there, then what is going to happen? This ball is going to start move and come to the vertical direction. Now this ball and rod is able to be kept in this position only because this rod is there. So this rod is under compression. Now as it starts rotating, what is going to happen is the ball will have a force that is pulling it in the outward direction. So as the speed of rotation increases, the outward force is going to increase more and more, and at some stage there will be no force in this particular rod. So that is what we have to find out. So these are the various horizontal and vertical distances with regard to the salient forces. You can do this, find this by applying basic trigonometry. Now let us find out the angular velocity at which the this system is rotating. So it is given as 20 rpm. So rpm can be converted into angular velocity by this formula, that is 2 pi n divided by 60. So if you convert that, you will get angular velocity as 2.093 radian per second. Now since the ball is undergoing uniform circular motion, the inertial force will be same as a centrifugal force, and therefore it can be found out as m r omega square, that will be 981 divided by 9.81 into 0.85 into 2.093 square. So that we will be getting the value of the centrifugal force. So this is the value of the inertial force. Now what we will do is, let us consider the free body diagram of the ball. So the various forces that are going to act on the ball are, one is its weight that is acting vertically downward, then we have tension acting along the string. There will be a force FBD which is acting in the horizontal direction. Now in addition to that, it is undergoing uniform circular motion. Therefore, the acceleration will be in the centripetal direction, and therefore inertial force will be acting opposite to that. Now if we take moment about the vertex of, let us try to take the moment of all the forces about this particular point O. If we write the moment equilibrium, we will be getting this particular equation, that is FBD into 0.866 plus Fy into 1.472 is equal to mg into 0.85. Tension is passing through the particular point O, and therefore it will not come in the moment equation. So if we try to solve this, we will be getting FBD equals 330 Newton. So now we have to find, this is the force in the bar BD. Next thing is we need to find the speed at which FBD will be equal to 0. So to find the speed at which FBD equal to 0, what we will be doing is, we will be put in this particular equation that we are having. In this equation we are having, what we are going to do is, we are going to put FBD equal to 0, and the omega in this Fi will be taken as an unknown. That is, Fi will be taken as an unknown here. So if you rewrite the equation again, 0 into 0.866 plus Fi into 1.472 is equal to mg into 0.85. We have taken the same equilibrium equation, and in that equilibrium equation we have substituted FBD equal to 0, and we are trying to find out the corresponding inertial force. So if we solve that, we will be getting Fi is replaced as mr omega square, and solving the equation we will be getting omega equals 2.582 radian, that is 24.66 rpm. Therefore initially it started and it was rotating at 20 rpm, and when it was rotating at 20 rpm, the force in FBD was 330 Newton. Now as the speed was increased, what happened was, when the force in FBD started decreasing, and when the speed of rotation reached 24.66 rpm, the force in FBD became 0. Now if you further increase the speed, what is going to happen? The force in FBD is going to become tensile in nature. Till now it was compressive in nature, and as if you further increase the speed, the force in FBD becomes tensile in nature. So these are the values. Now another example related to this. So there is a very small ball that is resting on a turntable. This is a turntable, and this table can rotate, and there is a ball that is rotating on it at a radial distance r. So now what we require is, the table is starting from rest, and the ball is undergoing a constant tangential acceleration of 3 meters per second. So the difference in this particular problem is, in all the previous problems that we considered, the particles or the body was undergoing only uniform circular motion, and there was no tangential acceleration. Therefore the inertial force was fully the centripetal force or the centrifugal force. However, in this particular problem, you are having tangential acceleration also. Therefore, here when you consider the inertial force, it has to be equal to mass into net acceleration, where net acceleration will be the resultant of both the tangential acceleration and the normal acceleration. Now the question is, how long will it take to for the ball to start slipping off the turntable? And the second is the speed of the particle at that instant. So friction, coefficient of friction is given. Now what we have to understand is, as the turntable, imagine if the turntable was fully smooth. When you start rotating the turntable itself, the ball will slip away. That means the only reason why the ball is able to undergo rotate along with the turntable is, it is having a centripetal acceleration, and this acceleration is provided because of the frictional force between the ball as well as the turntable, similar as to the case wherein a car is taking a curved path. So only because there is a friction, it is able to undergo a circular or a curvilinear motion. Now as the turntable is rotating, the ball will be undergoing a curved path, and after some instant, what is going to happen is it will lose contact with the turntable and it will be moving out in a tangential path. So we need to find out at what instant that it is going to lose contact with it is going to start slip from the turntable. So if we try to draw the free body diagram of the ball at this instant, the forces that will be acting is there is going to be a frictional force which is going to act in a direction opposite to the direction of motion, and there will be an inertial force which is going to act in a direction that is opposite to the acceleration. So inertial force will be equal to mass into net acceleration. So if we equate these two, you will get the equilibrium equation. The equilibrium equation will be, so this part we had already discussed. If you try to write the equilibrium equation, this will be the equilibrium equation. So Fi equal to m into net acceleration. If you try to solve this equation, you will be getting the magnitude of normal acceleration as 1.67 meter per second square. Now we know normal acceleration is equal to Vt square by r. So we can get the value of Vt as 1.08 meter per second. So the velocity of the ball at slip is same as its tangential velocity. So this is the velocity of the ball at slip. Next is we need to find the time at which the ball loses contact. So for that we need to apply this equation. So omega f is equal to omega I plus alpha t. Omega I is equal to 0. Now at is equal to r into alpha. At is given in the question, therefore alpha can be found out, that is 4.29 radian per second square. So if we apply it, Vt is also known, therefore we can find out the value of omega f, which is 1.54 radian per second. So substituting in the equation, we can get the value of t as 0.36 second. So after the start of motion at t is equal to 0.36 second, the ball will slip off from the table. Now this is the last question that we are going to discuss. So here what we are having is a motorcycle and a rider of total mass 500 kg is traveling a vertical curve. So till now we were discussing about motions along horizontal curves. So this is one regarding motion along a vertical curve. So with a constant speed of 45 km per hour, we have to find the reaction exerted by the motorcycle as it passes through the crest of the curve. Second is we have to find at what point of the vertical curve the reaction from the road will be 0. The radius of the curve is 500 meter. So let this be the vertical curve and let this be the tire of the motorcycle, symbolizing the whole motorcycle. So the motorcycle is moving up a curved path and it reaches the crest. So at this point, let us analyze what are the forces that are going to act on it. So if you when it is the crest of the circular path, if you draw a tangent to the curve, the tangent will be perfectly horizontal, and you draw a vertical line passing through the body that is going to pass through the center of the circular path. Now the force weight will be acting vertically downward. There will be reaction from the ground. Its acceleration is centripetal acceleration, and therefore inertial force will act in the upward direction. So this will be the equation of equilibrium for the bike at the crest. So again, the next part of the question requires us to find out at what position defined by theta where it is going to lose contact with the ground. That means the forces that will be acting on it will be, weight will be acting in the vertical direction, and we can replace it by its horizontal and its normal and radial components. Reaction will be acting. Now this reaction has to be considered as 0. Its acceleration will be in the radial direction and inertial force will be acting in this direction. So let us try to analyze this particular problem. So given that Vt is equal to 45 km per hour, if you multiply by 5 by 18, you can convert it into meter per second. So that will be 12.5 meter per second. So it is undergoing uniform circular motion. Inertial force will be same as centrifugal force. You can calculate it here. as 156.25 Newton. Now, to find the reaction at the crust, we have to draw the free body diagram of the bike at the crust. We discussed this already. Weight is acting vertically downward, R is in the upward direction. Since acceleration is in downward direction, inertial force will be in the upward direction. So R plus Fi is equal to mg. We will get the value of R as 4748.75 Newton. Now the second part of the question is to find the distance, the angle at which the reaction is going to be 0. So mg is acting vertically downward, reaction is taken as 0. We can replace mg by their normal and radial tangential components. Then acceleration is towards the center, inertial force will be acting outward. If you try to write the equilibrium equation, R plus Fi is again equal to mg cos theta. Now R is equal to 0, therefore Fi equal to mg cos theta. We can get the value of cos theta as 0.0318, theta will be equal to 88.17 degree. So that is the point at which the angle will be equal to, the reaction from the ground will be equal to 0. Theta equal to 88.17 degree from the vertical. Now these are certain practice questions related to the concepts that we have discussed. So with this we conclude our discussions on kinetics. Also, this is the last lecture in the series on module 4 of your syllabus. So with all the practice questions as well as the examples that we have discussed throughout the lectures, prepare well, and we will be having a test related to the entire fourth module. So that's it for today. Stay safe, happy learning. Let's overcome this crisis together. Thank you.